Like everyone here, I just a little while ago listened to the first state of the state district of, state address of Governor Hochul, a historic moment in New York State. First, I did think there were a lot of key points that were hit, more particular issues that were raised. But one of the things that was overarching for me was what I've been most worried about as I'm running for governor and messaging that we don't want to go back to normal. It seemed to me that this speech could have been given pre-pandemic. And what we need now is a really bold vision and agenda to move this state forward. And so it concerns me that there wasn't the boldness that I would have hoped to see. So even as we raise the issues, the boldness to do a transformative change just wasn't there. A good example of that was when it came to housing. 100,000 units is basically a drop in the bucket. It's not even enough for New York City, much less for the entire state. And we have to be really bold when we're going to try to address the problems that quite literally we've been trying to address before the pandemic, and the pandemic has exacerbated. And many of the ways that we can do this is if we embrace a transformative economy and embrace ways that we can have sustainable revenue. Unfortunately, the governor has said that she will not entertain any new revenue to get us where we need to go. And of course, there was no mention of good cause eviction, good cause eviction, which is of great concern because as the eviction moratorium is facing being gotten rid of, we're only going to have a worse crisis when it comes to homelessness, and we have to do everything that we can. And it doesn't seem like there's a real grasp of how bad the situation is when it comes to homelessness. And of course, I believe the state got caught flat-footed again when it comes to Omicron. I didn't hear much mention of how we're going to change some of that. And lastly, as I mentioned, we could be hearing the speech before the pandemic. We also, at some point, are going to have to ask many of the things that are being raised now. The governor was really silent on when she was lieutenant governor. And I think there's a lot of questions to be asked why the silence on some of those issues, and had more voices been raised before the pandemic, we may not have been hit as hard as we were. So again, just to recap, I'm glad that I think the right issues were hit. They definitely weren't bold enough where we are right now. And there was no commitment of how we're going to get the funding and the resources needed to make them bold enough. I will add, I was glad that there was a mention of gun violence, but not nearly the type of plan that we need to see from across the state, what's happening all over the state, Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse. I think at one point when talking about homelessness, it was primarily directed just to New York City, which for me as a public advocate is good, but as a candidate running for governor, we're seeing a rising homelessness and housing insecure all across the state. And so we need a plan that unites us all. So that's my viewpoint of what I heard in the speech, and happy to answer any questions of folks may have.
And reporters who've joined us in Zoom, you can raise your hand to ask a question or drop them in the Q&A box, or you can email us at press@JumaneeWilliams.com. I don't see any questions that have come in yet. So unless you have any other final remarks, public advocate, we can probably wrap.
Yeah, I'm just going to say we can't return to normal. That's our big mantra. Normal didn't work. We have to be bold. We have to have a vision. The Democratic Party in general is really good at telling people who the boogeyman is and who we shouldn't vote for. We've been really poor at putting forth a vision to ask people to support and vote. And I'm hoping that we change this as we come to the primary and really put forth a vision for people to support. And that's the kind of vision that we're going to be putting forth during our campaign. So look forward to speaking with you more on it as we move forward.
And actually, we do have a question that has come through. Joe with, I believe, Labor Press. Yeah, Joe asks, if you have a reaction to Hochul calling to scrap 421A tax abatement and committing to creating good union jobs.
I think it's awesome. I don't know why it took so long. We definitely have to scrap 421A, throw that in the garbage. It remains to be seen what is going to be put forth. And so again, that what concerned me, obviously good union jobs are great, so we need that. But what concerned me is the limited amount of units that we want to build or preserve. 100K is just nowhere close to what it is that we need. And so I'm glad that there's finally commitment to that. I don't know what happened with Good Cause. I don't know why the plan is so small for housing. I also wanted to mention, I am very supportive and happy to hear about the discussion around term limits. It's strange to me that we wouldn't talk about term limits for the legislature. And perhaps the governor was a little concerned whether she'd pay a political price if she asked for term limits for the legislature. But if we are going to discuss the best way to get new ideas in and to not have some of the ills we've seen for people who spend a lifetime, then it should extend to the legislature as well. And I would ask, I love the comment she made about passing the baton, but for fresh new ideas, but we have to ask why she didn't support India Walton, who was actually the Democratic primary nominee, fresh new ideas in Buffalo when she stayed out of that race.
Our next question comes from Colin Benjamin with Black Star News.
I think Colin is on mute.
Sorry, my bad. Good afternoon. How are you? All right. Could you speak a little bit more about what your vision is as far as affordable housing? Like, how much of a commitment do you think?
We definitely have to address this understanding the magnitude of the problem, the magnitude of homelessness all across this state, and 100,000 units preserved or built just doesn't cut it. We need to have at least, we should be aiming toward 500, 600,000 across this state, with a large portion of that, of course, going to the big cities. And if we're not even aiming at that, I am quite concerned. 10 to 15% homeless set aside is the right amount. I think we should go a little higher than the 10% that was mentioned, probably closer to 15. But 10% of 100,000 is nothing. And I would say 60 to 70% of that should be preservation. 30 to 40% of that should be new construction. We haven't had a new idea around new construction since Mitchell Lama. It's time to have some more bold ideas, as I mentioned, and we can be creative on how to resource that and fund that. One, we just have to be open to revenue raising options for people who have gotten wealthier during this pandemic. We definitely can't ask folks who have been worse off since the pandemic, and we have to have that conversation in a civic-minded way, not screaming at people, not saying you shouldn't be as successful as you are in the way we have been, but we have to have a civic-minded conversation where we have to get the resources to help folks who are struggling. And also, if we are creative on how we develop these projects, how we cross-subsidize these projects, where we put the billions of dollars we waste in the 421A, we can be creative and bold and get these things done, but we have to at least be aiming to the right target.
All right, and with that, I think we can wrap. Any follow-up questions, though, you can shoot us an email at press@JumaneeWilliams.com. So thanks, everyone.